I'm Jacob.
I'm Yuri.
And we're going for a drive.
The never existed before 2024 Ineos Grenadier.
Without launch control, brake boost. Oh.
Why does this powertrain feel so familiar?
We'll talk about that in a second. That was a pretty good launch.
Horsepower and torque.
282 horsepower, 332 pound-feet of torque from a turbo 3-liter inline 6-cylinder.
Who makes that motor?
BMW.
What's the engine code?
This is the B58 engine code.
And what is this body? What is this company?
Whoa,
Where is it from?
Slow down, Yuri. So many questions, so many things to talk about. Okay, Ineos is basically a company that a billionaire now founded, and it's a chemical company. And so this guy loved his old Land Rover Defender so much that he approached JLR to buy the patents or whatever it was to I'll talk about that speed thing soon, to buy the actual patents and be able to like recreate it himself because he's so rich. And so they said no, he did it anyways, and they sued him and he won. So this car now exists. Now Grenadier comes from, they decided to make this company at a pub, and so they named it after the pub where they were drinking at.
Okay, that's cool. That's like us coming up with the Eurocub Old Sod.
Yes. Okay, let's get to the speed thing, because I'm going to turn it off. So it does have a speed limit warning sign thing. So as soon as you go 1 kilometer over what it detects to be the speed limit, it will give you those little audible beeps because that is a new European regulation. So Ineos is trying to get ahead of that rather than trying to retrofit it later. There is a way to turn it off, but you have to do that every single time you get into this vehicle. So the people...
I kind of like
That was me going over the lane.
clapping.
So the people at Ineos have favorited the button over here. So if you hit the favorites button, it then takes you to a sub menu, which is a little bit laggy because it's a BMW system, but it's an old one. You then have to go to Intelligent Speed Assist and then Overspeed Warning. So you have to do that every single time you get into this car if you don't want that beeping when you're speeding 1 kilometer over the limit, which is a little bit annoying. So the other thing that also beeps constantly is the lane departure warning, and the steering on this is actually so floaty and so kind of old feeling. This is definitely just kind of like a resto mod, but as a brand new car, which is really cool of a company to do that, but it's also really annoying and frustrating to use this really bad steering because it's got nothing in the first several inches, it's all play. And then as you're driving and trying to keep this thing on the road, you're just like all over the place.
I don't understand why the steering feels like that, but I also have never driven an old Defender.
Yeah.
So I bet you the guy who built this loved that. And
Potentially.
He put it in there and he's like, this is how I want it to feel. And then if everyone complains and changes it for the next year, at least he has the first year exactly the way the billionaire wanted.
And the weirdest part about it is you have to like unwind the steering wheel yourself coming out of like slow turns and stuff because it doesn't just reset like most modern cars do. So it's like it just won't do that.
It's weird. It reminds me of flying a remote control airplane for the first time, new one. Like, you know what the controls do, but it doesn't do it the way you think it's going to do, but you have to keep going and make it work.
Interesting.
Right?
I have no idea. I've
Like,
never
you know how
found
the
one.
steering wheel works,
But
it doesn't work the way a steering wheel should work, but you know you'll figure it out by feel.
This points you in the general direction of where you need to go. So let's get to what the actual whole Ineos Grenadier is. So it's a UK company, so we have a British flag, with a German BMW engine, so we have a German and British flag on the side of the thing. It's built by Magna Steyr, who also conveniently builds the G-Wagon, the BMW Z4, and the Toyota Supra. And then it's...
And where's that?
Those ones are in Austria and Germany, I believe, but this one is built in France. So we have 3 different flags on this thing, which the most flags I've ever seen on a vehicle. And so with this powertrain and with the shape of the vehicle and what it encompasses, I think that this is the BMW G-Wagon that BMW has failed to build. It's put together really well because it's put together by Magna Steyr, so it feels very German in here. It's actually an insane interior, like full of switchgear everywhere.
This reminds me of like a Bombardier Snowcat, the thing that like plows ski hills and stuff inside.
I wouldn't know, but it reminds me of an airplane because every time I've seen a cockpit, it kind of looks like this, especially with the stuff up here, and it is all customizable. So there are several trims of this thing. The Grenadier is the base. There's also the Trial Master, which is like a predetermined spec for like an off-road version.
Yeah.
And then there's the Field Master, which is kind of the top trim, slightly more luxurious, which is the one that we're driving.
This is the Field Master.
Yes, but you can also spec a base model to be like a Field Master if you wanted to, but then I don't think you get this badge below the windshield, which then indicates that it's a Field Master or a Trial Master.
Yo, quickly back to the interior. We got these two sunroofs above us, which is cool. They can lift up.
They're safari roofs.
And you can pull them out, and then you have no gauge cluster in front of the steering wheel. It is in the infotainment, and I guess in England, the speed stuff is on the right side instead of the left side.
I would imagine so. And then this left half of the touchscreen isn't actually a touchscreen. It does nothing, but the right half does.
Hey, considering that you think this is a BMW infotainment because it has a rotary dial and a BMW shifter, the fact that anything is touch,
I mean,
I feel like they had non-touch for a long time back in the day.
but that's why this is like a resto mod. So driving-wise, the suspension's like a little bit harsh. I did notice that. And then with the suspension, the steering, and certain other little things, it feels like a resto mod in the sense that you have an old car with a new engine and new powertrain, but the powertrain is BMW's and it's really good. It's detuned B58, so it should theoretically be even more reliable than I think the already proven B58. And I don't really notice like, oh, sure, this thing's bigger, but it still pulls really hard, and that ZF 8-speed pulls all the gears really, really nicely. And they did have to modify the engine slightly for off-roading, so they moved the alternator a little bit higher as well.
Yeah, and it sounds really good
from the outside. Oh my God, this turning radius is terrible.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, this is
terrible.
This is wild.
I think outside of that Renault that we drove that one time, this is the worst. And now I have to unwind the steering wheel myself. So
hey, let the billionaire have his fun steering.
Oh, I'm sure he's having fun, because I mean, I love that this exists. I love a lot about this. I'm not complaining. I'm just issuing the statement of what it's actually like to drive.
Yeah, I don't get why it's like this.
Yeah.
Somebody explain to me in the comments.
It's very rubbery. Okay, so enough about the steering. The next thing that I've noticed is that the start-stop is actually kind of necessary in this vehicle, because when I'm coming to a stop and I'm just, leave it in drive with this BMW shifter, which we will get to, there's a lot of vibration in the vehicle. So right now, let's just do that. And
but you said this is a resto mod. That's what old cars are like.
Exactly. Oh, it doesn't want to shut off. Maybe because we got the AC cranked. But usually when it does, the start-stop system kind of really saves it, because you really kind of need that in this. But other than that, I really, really like this thing overall. So now I'm going to send it into cliche corner, but not too hard, because you can't actually turn off traction when you're driving at normal speeds. You can only do it at slow speeds, and it does cut power.
Does the warning light flash in your gauge cluster?
No, it's on the gauge cluster, because that's full of warning lights.
Wait,
and
is that your gauge cluster, or is this your gauge cluster?
I think this is my gauge cluster.
Or is that your warning light section?
It's the one in front of me. So that's been flashing at me nonstop. And the thing is all over the place through cliche. Like, it's body rolling everywhere, which to be expected on the road. People want this for off-road. Also, the vibe of what this gives off on the road, because this is kind of like a G-Wagon, like a Wrangler, kind of like a Bronco, Toyota Land Cruiser, that kind of thing.
And we just showed all of those cars on tsp.truecar.com. Does this show up on tsp.truecar.com? We will now know.
And there's not many of these dealers yet. I believe there's 2 in Canada, so this one came from the one in Mississauga.
The Dixie Auto Mall.
There's one on the West Coast in Vancouver as well.
There's a VinFast dealership there too?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, we haven't driven one of those yet.
No.
Maybe they haven't figured their thing out yet.
Yeah, but I mean, the overall idea of this is really, really cool. Just a couple small tweaks would make this, like, honestly incredible. I didn't expect to be so blown away by this, because I kind of expected this to be complete garbage, to be honest, but it's really, really not. It's the complete opposite of garbage. I love that this exists.
I'm waiting for a billionaire to resto mod 3rd gen Camaros and Fox body Mustangs.
Somebody, billionaires, please. So in terms of drive modes, this doesn't really have drive modes. We do have an off-road mode, which is above us over here.
Cool.
Now you have to like double press and hold it to confirm, and you can't do it at certain speeds. And what the off-road mode really is a turn off certain warning lights mode.
That's because it doesn't beep at you for a certain reason?
Exactly. So you don't want like parking sensors going and stuff like that when you're off-roading.
It's like a car that's fully capable
with
no drive modes, but this just turns off the stuff that you need to have a car built in 2024.
Basically. And then we also have...
What's waiting?
Yeah, so waiting is...
Does it raise the suspension and make it float?
It is coil springs, nothing crazy. It's a complete ladder frame chassis, so it's body on frame. But waiting mode what that does is apparently turn off the fan for the radiator so that when you're in the water, it's not sucking in extra water, which is kind of interesting.
Cool.
I don't know why it would suck in extra water because it shouldn't suck in water anyways, but it's going through the radiator.
Maybe the water cools it enough so it doesn't need a fan to blow it.
I think it's something like that. So this actually has a wading depth of 80 centimeters or just over 2.5 feet, which is very, very good.
I like how we have the dimensions of the car up here too.
That is cool. So we don't have front lockers or rear lockers on this particular trim. If we did, because you can get them on a different trim or just as a separate option package, it would actually give you more switches up here.
Nice.
And then if you wanted even more switches, you can get an auxiliary battery. So a secondary battery, which would replace this whole panel so that you can power stuff for, off-roading and overlanding and all that kind of stuff. And then over here, we do have a bunch of toggle switches for power. So these power switches are if you have the vehicle off, but you want the battery on so that you can use the USB ports and stuff like that inside the car.
So
it's very practical.
I feel like this guy's just building it for stuff that like bothered him one time. He's like,
Yeah.
I always want to plug in my thing. I don't want to have the accessories on. I'm just gonna put it into my car.
Yeah, and like nothing feels cheap in here, and there's a lot to go on with this interior, so I'm gonna let you drive right now because there's a lot to talk about.
Oh, you're gonna let me?
I'm gonna let you.
I'm so thankful.
I mean, it's a privilege, right? It's a privilege to drive.
Privilege to drive next to
Exactly.
Jacob in the passenger seat. All right, so the best thing I think I could do now is just point out all the weird stuff that I think is cool. Starting with, we got a little horn toot button to give a nice little toot toot to people or to bicycles, and then we got a real horn, which is super loud. The Ineos logo.
Ineos, you're
Ineos. I don't know why they used like 6 different fonts. It looks super weird, but for an oil company, I guess that makes sense.
chemical company.
Same thing. Grenadier.
So you looked away from 1 second and you went over the line.
The Grenadier logo I think looks really cool. I like that.
I really like that
At
logo.
first I thought it was the Grenadier or something, but whatever, all cool. The back has a little bit of ladder.
Yeah, it's got a ladder.
It's cool, you can climb up it, and then it opens like a split fold, but in a weird way, so that's pretty neat.
It's a 70-30 split, and you have to open the small side first to get the big side open with the spare tire.
And then the looks of this looks pretty awesome. Like, it just looks old car, and it's cool that they made that exist. I saw some versions where you could, these like side things, you can add clips there, so you could have stuff like hang off of it.
Yeah, so the Trial Master would have that, and then you can actually use some of the hooks that are in the back of this thing to then attach things, and then also on top of these like roof rails, so people are making their own accessories for these things now. And then this also has a steel front bumper, which you can also get a winch for, and it's all factory approved.
That's cool. There's a skid plate, a big skid plate in the back as well, which is cool.
Yeah, and then this is permanent 4-wheel drive, and then you can also put it into 4-low as well. And we have this like old school, remember, what was it, the FJ Cruiser had something like this?
This
And you can lock lock the center diff, but you can't lock the front and rear.
this locking shifter next to this BMW shifter is freaking hilarious.
It's completely out of place.
I do like that this has a rotary dial, but the infotainment is a little slow, whatever. This does have wireless Apple CarPlay, because I guess BMW.
Yep.
Does have Sirius XM, so that's pretty cool. Only a reverse camera, no 360 camera, but like for weird resto mod stuff, I guess that's all right.
And the fact that the spare tire covers so much of the reverse camera, you can only see like so little out of it, which is pretty funny. And then we do have a button over here for off-road. So that's not your off-road mode, that's your off-road gauges up here. So there's a lot of cool little customizations that you can do. You can go attitude, temperature, pathfinder, so you can leave little breadcrumbs and
Yeah,
like
I
find
think
your
that's how
path
where you
back.
can set trails. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So you can see all your gauges.
Okay, let's see if this guy planned out properly for North America. 3, 2, 1.
No.
It does not slide. And I think he could put in maybe a visor for this too.
I would love that.
Okay, I'm gonna try the world's largest
3-point.
U-turn.
Yeah. I think you'll make it this time.
The turning radius. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is difficult.
When I was filming the exterior static shots and I had the wheel turned full, it looked like it was barely turned.
Yo, this windshield is flat as hell.
Yes, like a G-Wagon.
Hey, these buttons, I love like these little guards around like the hazard buttons and these things. Everything about this looks cool. Hard button, climate, dedicated seat heating button. This guy did a lot of stuff right.
Yeah, for a first attempt at this is remarkable.
Yeah.
And we have Recaro seats as well, and the seats are really, really comfortable.
Manual adjustment.
Yeah.
And everything's like super high up because it looks like it's got like plasticky floors with floor mats on top and stuff.
It does have plasticky floors because that's an option with a drain plug, which is what we have. And then you can also get carpets if you wanted to. And then I fit behind myself at 6'1.5", plenty of room back there.
Yeah, it looks like you could fit a child seat there. But the thing is, I guess with this being like a ladder frame vehicle, it's probably not like the safest for kids and stuff.
I'm sure it passed some sort of crash safety. The coolest part for me is that they have these kind of things, right? These hooks in the back, so you can have a net back there for dogs and things like that. So you can actually move
You
it.
put dogs in a net?
Yeah. Well,
Or like to stop?
no, you have like a net for dogs. That's like a normal thing. My
that
E55 literally comes with that.
It's a dog net?
Yeah. It's so that the dogs don't like come over the seat and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was for like clothes hangers. Manual handbrake? What?
Yeah, dude.
I guess you're not going to do like handbrake turns in this, but you know, all right.
Okay, so the funny thing about the shifter that I want to mention, so it is straight out of a BMW. We have manual/sport mode, so I'm going to put you into that right now. But you can't actually get into sport mode. There's only manual mode.
Let me use my paddles.
So the S is actually completely useless.
No paddles, but you can shift with this.
And you have forward for down, which is nice because it's an old BMW.
Look, I'm all right with like cost cutting and parts binning.
Yeah, me too.
I don't mind it.
No, and especially because they took like BMW's best engine.
Okay, cup holders. They look like they're a little small.
They're a little tight, and they have like JLR style grips, which maybe he was inspired by that because he loves the Defender so much.
I beat them in court. I'm gonna. All right, the armrest, the elbow rest, pretty firm, but like cool. And then here, you pretty much just have to have your elbow on the window.
Yeah, there's no real elbow rest.
Which I feel like is like a style thing, cause like that's pretty cool. And then the rear windows went down super fast. These windows go down super fast.
Decent.
Pretty quick.
And so this is actually called the station wagon, Yuri, even though it's an SUV. But there's also the Quartermaster, which is going to be a truck.
Sweet.
Yeah, same thing but truck, which is awesome.
Cool British terms that I don't understand.
Yeah. Like Trial Master apparently is some sort of British jacket that I have no idea what that is.
Oh, sweet. We need the North American pullover football hoodie from the 90s.
No, we need the Canadian tuxedo. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of plastics in here, but it is completely expected in a vehicle like this, which is an off-road vehicle. And it keeps beeping because Yuri keeps going over the line because the steering is literally like, it's like that.
Yeah, I
you
can't
have no
drive
choice.
this thing straight from off.
I know.
I would not, if my wife needed to drive this, I would not buy it because this would be very frustrating, and I personally think a little bit like hazardous to everyone.
So I drove this on the highway, and I didn't really have any issues with it. It was actually quite quiet. However,
does that guy not have a hood on his Mustang?
He definitely does not have a hood.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. So on the highway, it was actually quite nice, other than the steering, which just kind of exacerbated itself considering the speed.
Exacerbated.
But it does have cruise control, not adaptive.
No, it's okay, yo. Manual, like a normal key.
Yes.
So this thing is like hitting my knee, and I hate that. So please put in start stop button.
No, that's not. That's too forward thinking.
Then put it somewhere here so it's not like stuff hitting my knee. Like
actually, apparently this company is going to have an EV, where they're coming out with a completely new vehicle that's going to be an EV and or a gas powered vehicle with a battery assist.
I don't want to know anything about that.
Me neither. This is great.
Okay, trunk room. Looks like we actually have a lot of room, but it's slidey floors.
Yes.
And there's a bag back there to hold our sunroof. So here, let's open them up. Let's open them up.
It's actually really easy to open.
Get some fresh air.
Yeah, and then you can actually just fully unclip them and push them out and remove them.
So back to the looks. I like that we got the circle LED headlights. I think that's nice.
Yeah, very classic, but also modern.
I really like the taillights. I think those look perfectly modern for an old style car without looking too weird. It's like the perfect mix.
Because they're LED.
Let's put this down.
Oh, GTO convertible.
Nobody likes convertible muscle cars. Numbers matching. Do you like the wheels on this?
I do actually, but you can get steelies on this, which is pretty sick, and you can even get a different size of steely.
Nice. And what would be the Continental recommended tire for Ineos Grenadier?
Ineos, Yuri.
Ineos. What did I say?
You say Unos, like a Unos Roadster.
I said Ineos, didn't I?
That's not what it sounds like to me.
Unos Roadster. That's
the Continental Terrain Contact AT.
What's a Unos Roadster? Why am I?
That's a Mazda Miata, Yuri.
Oh, from when we played Gran Turismo.
It's just a Japanese one, yeah.
So I think that's everything. Jacob, can this tow?
Absolutely, it can. 7,700 pounds.
Nice. Does it matter what configuration, or they all do that?
I think they all do that.
Sweet. And I guess with that out of the way, and me crossing over the line a few more times, Let's get to the price.
This one that we're driving is $103,079. Toot toot. Which is, I mean, it's still six figures. It's a lot of money in Canada, but it's also kind of cheap for what you're getting, considering you're getting a resto mod.
I think it's cool. It's a cool alternative to, I guess, a new Defender.
Because a Defender got too soft for this billionaire.
It's cool to have a BMW engine in a G-Wagon-ish.
Exactly.
There's no snorkel on this one or whatever.
No, you can get that on the Trial Master or the base and just reconfigure it.
Do they all have this cool compass?
No, that's an option. You can even paint the ladder frame underneath it red. So you can get this green paint with like some red poking out from underneath the body.
Christmas edition.
Yeah, and you can get a white roof, a black roof.
Actually, you know what? My lawnmower is green and red too, and it's British, so maybe they like that stuff.
Damn.
All right, well, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you on the, what's this car called again?
Ineos, Yuri.
We'll see you on the Ineos Mazda Miata recreation they make one day, hopefully.
Yo, if the billionaire, if he does like British racing cars and British racing green and Jaguars, it might exist.
Can Ineos just be a resto mod company?
Yeah!
Of cool cars we
Like
like.
affordable resto mod company? Because real resto mods in like California stuff like $500,000.
Ineos Plymouth Prowler.
Oh, wow. Ineos Fox Body.
I already said that.
Yeah, but Fox Body.
I said that.
Yeah, but now people are seeing my Fox Body from my personal channel. It's Really Jacob. They can subscribe to that.